digital around the world.
Welcome to the session on smart agriculture, or from harvesting crops to harvesting data. This is a session organized by Horizon 2020 DEMETER project, and we have a very good or excellent panel combining people from university and academia and some people from companies. I hope that I see only Rita. I hope that other panelists are there as well. So if others can, okay, perfect. Thanks.
We are waiting.
Yeah, we still miss Ioanna and Kieran, but hopefully they are there as well. Okay, here's Ioanna. Hi, Ioanna.
I'm here. Hi, hi.
And Kieran will join hopefully as well. So welcome. It's my privilege and pleasure to host and moderate this session. As I said, it is about smart agriculture, but mainly from the perspective of data. What data means in agriculture, how we can use it, how are we using it, and how we can actually make it something monetizable. So how to go, as the title says, from harvesting crops to helping farmers to start harvesting data as well, and how to monetize that data. So today I have a panel of some excellent colleagues. Have Rita, who is coming from Luxembourg, and she is actually she's coming from Italy, but she's now in Luxembourg, and she's involved in some smart city or smart agriculture activities, and she's coordinator of a recently awarded COMET project focused on rural areas. Have Ioanna, who is the force behind agriculture information model that is being done in DEMETER, and I would like really a lot to hear a bit more about this model and what does it mean for the interoperability and the use of data going forward. Laurent is coming from VITO, which is, if I understand correctly, they're also partner in DEMETER, and it's about using visual tools to support sustainable development of economy and agriculture in particular. And we have Sinisa, who is IoT, head of IoT in Telekom Serbia. So I wanted to hear a bit of a commercial perspective on all of these that we are talking about in research projects. So how a mobile operator sees smart agriculture, what are the opportunities, and what can be done there. We were supposed to have Kieran as well from Waterford, but hopefully he will.
He's here.
He's here. Okay, so have a Kieran who will also help us understand how he is using, or what's his role in the smart agriculture system and some of the projects that he was involved in. So without further ado, I'd like, as we agreed, I'd like you to present yourself and give us your view in a very short, like 3-4 minutes of smart agriculture and from the perspective of data and data economy. So we can start with Rita, if you want to start.
Thanks a lot, Srdjan. So as you mentioned, I'm Rita Palattella. I'm Italian, but I work since long time in Luxembourg, in LIS, Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology, and I'm here leading the activity on digitalization of agriculture, so trying to apply IoT and other connectivity solution for enabling a new application for farmers. I'm coordinating several national projects like Lux 5G Cloud, LORSAT, and we have a pilot project also in DEMETER, and so we are deploying IoT LoRaWAN network to collect data from the field that is applied for several use cases like weed control or crop monitoring. And I'm also the coordinator of Connect, which is an Horizon Europe project that started in September. And here we are really looking into developing a different connectivity solution for rural area, and not only, let's say, from a technical point of view, but with the aim of having a socio-economic and environmental impact. So the idea is, in fact, to use the connectivity solution and the data that we collect for create a new business model. You are muted, Srdjan.
Thanks. It's good to have cameras on so people can see that something is happening. So Ioanna, if you would like to, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Hi. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Srdjan. My name is Ioanna Roussaki. I'm an associate professor at the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering in the National Technical University of Athens in Greece. I hold the position on ambient intelligence systems, and I am also affiliated with ICCS, the well-known Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, one of the most dominant research institutes in the country, that has won over 500 projects the last 20 years and several hundreds of million euros. I am also the head of the Digital Innovation Hub of the Internet of Things, Intelligent Systems, Data Engineering and Media, that has been established by myself 4 years ago. And my research interests have recently focused on the agri-food domain and the application of a series of technologies that span from IoT and data engineering to artificial intelligence, data modeling, semantic interoperability, cybersecurity, decision support, privacy, etc., etc. Here, I am as the chief architect of the DEMETER project. That is a large-scale project organizing this session that aims to build an interoperable, data-driven, innovative, and sustainable European agri-food sector. In this project, I am also the work package leader of the package focusing on data and knowledge. And there's another capacity of mine that makes sense to mention here with. I am the coordinator of the newly funded project, Horizon Europe project, that's called Divine, that aims to demonstrate the value of agri-data sharing for boosting data economy in agriculture. There are several challenges that are to be discussed in this slot. I would like to give mainly a technical perspective on the matter. A one-line heading over my, let's say, contribution to the discussion has to do with the challenge of interoperability that is very critical, and it's dominating the data economy in the agri-food sector. The landscape of models, of standards, of ontologies around that aim to represent the agri-food data is endless. Is so wide that it makes it not impossible, but very, very difficult for people, for stakeholders to share this type of information. So we have made a valuable contribution within the DEMETER project with the AIM that was mentioned by Srdjan earlier on, that aims to address this interoperability challenge. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Ioanna. We'll come back to AIM and all the other things that you mentioned there. Laurent, can you just make the introduction as well?
Okay, thank you very much. Yep, so I'm Laurent Tits from VITO Remote Sensing. We are a research institute in Belgium, and so the remote sensing department is doing research on how to use these technologies in different applications. Myself, I'm leading the agricultural applications team. So my team is doing all the research related to agriculture and remote sensing. We're a team of about 16, 17 people working on this topic. And so we do research, but we also have a number of platforms where we try to bring data to different users. And for example, the Watching Grow platform is one of these platforms that's really targeted towards the farmers, bringing EU data to the farmer, but also trying to, should I say, like a data brokerage platform where different people can bring in their data and the farmer can kind of centralize all the different data coming from soil scans, machines, IoT sensors, samples that he collects himself or other people collect for him, that all comes into one platform and like a centralized place. So in that sense, we're also involved in a number of projects like DEMETER, but also Scale Ag Data, which was recently approved and that we are coordinating, that really looks at how to make sure that the farmer can benefit from his data, like what's in it for him if he is to share his data. How can other actors capitalize on it, and how can these revenues go back to the farmer? So we are involved in a number of these projects. Also, digitalization of agroecology is also one of these, and like how can you bring the digital tools in that type of agriculture? And the questions that will arise there are very similar. So yeah, in that sense, we're quite involved in a number of projects and initiatives, both from research as a service provider as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Laurent. So let's move then to commercial side of the story. Sinisa, can you just give us your view of smart agriculture from a mobile operator perspective?
Yeah, my name is Roussaki, and I'm head of IoT at Telekom Serbia. So Telekom Serbia is a leading telco operator in the Serbia, but also in the region. We have our affiliates in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro, and recently we launched our operation in North Macedonia. So we are quadruple-play telco operator, so we're providing not just the mobile, but fixed internet and multimedia as well. And on top of that, for the business customers, we are providing ICT and IoT services. And we roll out the LoRaWAN network 4 years ago. At the beginning, it was for internal use case, but we extended by covering different verticals, and agriculture is one of the vertical. With our partners, we provide we promote IT solutions and providing the whole service for the farmers, meaning that we're not selling the hardware. We are trying to provide the packages, the agri-tech packages. That means that customers don't have the initial investment and not to buy the hardware, but we are providing the hardware and the software and the whole package, and we are providing by the customers are paying on the monthly basis. So they're not owning for instance, the weather station or some other equipments, but we are providing all the equipments and the service, and they're just paying on the like other telco services. They are paying on the monthly basis. So we found that this model is fitting both for the corporations and small producers, and it can be deployed for producers associations as well. So this is one of the model we are providing to the farmers and to the indifferent for wind growers and for the other producers in the Serbia. We have our LoRaWAN network in Bosnia and Herzegovina as well, and recently we launched the narrowband IoT connectivity. So it means that we are connectivity agnostic, and we can provide different services in this vertical for the farms for the farmers. So hopefully with a lot of different partners, we will provide a variety of the services.
Thanks, Sinisa. I hope that our colleague Jorge from DEMETER, who is responsible for exploitation part of DEMETER, is here at the session to hear about potential business models there, and maybe also the reviewers. That would be even better, but we'll see about that. Anyway, Kieran, the floor is yours. What's happening in Ireland?
Thank you very much, Srdjan. We have lots of rain at the moment in Ireland, just for a change. I guess the first thing I want to do is apologise for being a couple of minutes late. I was at an event on our campus this morning where there was research on agriculture from across a huge spectrum. I think it might have maybe something beneficial for this conference, for this discussion as well. There was lots of different people talking about everything from phosphorus and nitrogen and the impact on the environment to how to manage certain crops better. And what struck me was it reminded me of the project that we've just finished, which was about exploring data use in Irish agriculture. And the diversity of the research that was going on this morning reminded me of AgriDISCRETE and the multi-actor approach that we took there, or that we explored there. We didn't come up with anything too final as a solution. I guess what was really useful there was that, like the image you see in the background here, we spoke to everybody who was using the technology, or who would be using the technology that we were kind of proposing, this idea of the data sharing platform that everybody can use, that everybody feeds into to help design, and that everybody uses at the far end. Because I guess to go back just as a quick introduction, I'm from the Walton Institute in the Southeast Technological University. Now we used to be the TSSG, now we're the Walton Institute. So ICT is what we do, and Internet of Things is what we do, and software is what we do. We're not farmers. We're not a private company gathering data from different sources, or we're not selling a technology. We're researchers. We're technical ICT researchers. And the platform we proposed there at the end of the project tried to encompass the discussions and the requirements from various different users of the technology. So it was almost a non-technical approach to a technical problem. And I guess that's really what I took from it. So whether it was the exchange of data, the building of trust, the searchability, we looked at the FAIR principles of data as well. We tried to encompass as much as we could from the non-technical perspective into the proposed technical solution. So I guess that's kind of where my head is at the moment. As well as that, we're trying to bring that on, and I suppose we should state for full disclosure, I'm working, or we're working together on the new Divine project with Ioanna as well. So I guess that's maybe an approach we can try and develop within Divine as well, to take that rounder view, and hopefully I think Ioanna has reflected that in the consortium in the Divine project as well. So I guess that's kind of my opening statement for this discussion. I think we need to talk to the end users first, try and build up a picture of what they need and what they're capable of, and what they would like to see and what they have to see. And I think we can try and build the technology on top of that then.
Yeah, thank you. And that's actually a very good remark. And that's something you mentioned, that all of you, including me, we are ICT people. So not really farmers. Okay, we know how to eat things, but not really how to grow that part, at least myself. And it's often what I saw often is that ICT, or people with ICT background, they say, oh, we know that we'll build this, so it will be useful for you, without really talking to farmers in this particular case to understand what they need. And this multi-acre approach that you mentioned, it's used in the DISCRETE project, and also the DEMETER, is something where we are trying to involve a lot of farmers and to capture all the feedback. But and I think that's great. But what I would like to hear from you, and now we have people from different parts of Europe, how do you find talking to farmers? Is it easy? Are they really open? Do they know what they want? Or do you have to guide them? So, Rita, maybe I think you had recently a workshop with farmers in Luxembourg. So
Yes.
How does it work?
So I have to say that it is very difficult because, of course, they don't have the mindset of ICT expert, of researcher. First of all, I can say that there is a problem of language barrier. So these are farmers that mainly speak Luxembourgese and German. Sometimes, if you find those more educated, will be able to speak French, but forget about English. So this is, let's say, the first basic problem that, of course, you need to solve. Otherwise, you cannot reach them. And at the same time, they should be strongly motivated to engage in such a discussion, discussion with us that we have the more technical skill. And I realized that you need to, of course, start, as it was highlighted, from their need. So what type of problem we must solve based on their daily work. And we should not go to them and say, look, I have this solution, it is very nice, it is a platform, you have this sensor you put in the field, and then I give you this application. It will not work because they have really to fill the need. They are concerned about the cost of the solution, so they are not quick in saying, yes, I will invest in it. And from my recent experience, the, let's say, old farmer or old generation will most of the time say, no, but this is not for me. Maybe my kid will look into this technology. So there is really a strong need of educating them. And this is not something that us as a researcher or ICT expert can do alone. Here there is the key role of the farmer advisor in the middle, and this is what we are doing in our project in Connect and the DEMETER pilot. We have the contribution of support of the farmer advisor, and they are really able to, let's say, help us in getting the farmer need, understand what they want, or also help in having this discussion. And after, it is our role to map the farmer need into technical requirement for the solution that we develop. But what I can share is, in fact, that the dialogue is not easy, and we need other actors that can support, and we cannot take the top bottom approach, but the bottom up, because we need to start from what they need to make sure after they adopt the solution.
Okay, thanks, Marita. Laurent, is it the same case in Belgium?
Yeah, thanks. It is the same case. Talking to farmers isn't easy, and you have this whole learning curve they have to go through. That's also why the last few years, we actually changed our approach a bit. Like we don't really talk to the farmers directly anymore. I mean, we still do, but the main focus is actually on the service providers who are already working with the farmers with a specific service, and try to bring the technology in their service. Like, for example, irrigation advice based on soil samples. Well, if we can bring other technologies in it, we only need to talk to that service provider, and the learning curve is only once. You can reach a lot of farmers with that one-time investment, and they already know the needs, because they're already answering to a specific need with a specific service. So in that sense, we've learned that talking to people who give fertilization advice, rotation advice, to machine builders, for example, they bring machines with certain measurement capabilities. Well, if we can help them improve their way of working, and we can bring additional data to their machines and so on, we noticed that it's a much easier and a quicker way to get the technology adopted by the farmers, because it comes in a package that they already know. They have a certain relationship with these advisors, so they know they can be trusted. And if they come with something new, they kind of trust them, and then they get to learn, they get to know it. And then once they see how it works, they also get confidence in the technology and the data that's behind it. So for us, we've seen that this helps actually in the uptake of this kind of technologies.
Thanks, Laurent. Talking about this, talking to farmers, Sinisa, these guys are coming more from maybe research academia, so, and they spent more time in the agriculture space, but you are heading a team which suddenly came into agriculture and say, okay, now let's sell a smart agriculture solution to farmers. So how did you find it? Or was it easy to talk to the farmers? Was it easy to understand what's happening there? How do you go about educating your people there?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's just one of the verticals we are covering. So, I mean, basically selling is not an easy job, but selling digital solutions to the farmers is a hell of a job. So we have, I mean, we are educated by ourselves, and we go through the solutions, and we understand what is the technical point of the solutions. But finding what is the farmers' needs and how they are looking at that solution. It was really, I don't know, let's say, shocking. I mean, they didn't find many things which we started. What was our starting point, that we will provide some savings or something like that for them. So we have to educate them, not just the educated, but we have to persuade them that they don't have to do the things which they are doing all those years. They have to change their mindset up, and they have to adopt some other views. So mainly, we are not. It's not always to talk with the decision makers. You have to talk with all the team in the field, with the agricultural experts. The owners are not from the agriculture mainly. They are investing time to time. I mean, there is different kind of the owners of the farms, but there are so many different people at the farm, and they have, all of them have to admit that some digital solution can help them and provide them some another point of view and some additional information which they can use, and which can they I don't know how to say, to make them useful on a daily basis, and that is really tricky.
Okay, thanks, Sinisa. Kieran, before we move a bit to the technology and go back to Ioanna, you have a lot of experience with this multi-actor approach. And are there tools that are supporting that? I know this open collaboration space, SOX, that is being designed and used and tested in DEMETER. Are there other tools, or how do you see the value of such a tool? Will it facilitate the interaction? And what do you think? Is it the farmers who will have the push and say, okay, oh, we need this, who can offer this to us? Or it's more coming from technology providers, from all of us saying, oh, these are the things that we think you can use. Tell us what you think, and then try to improve it that way. No, if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a real politician's answer, and I'm going to say the answer is someplace in the middle. In the ideal scenario, you would have a bunch of farmers coming together, identifying a particular need or a requirement that they have, and approaching the technology providers that perhaps they've already worked with, or from a project they may have been involved with, and then everybody works together and they go from there. Other times, I suppose that's the challenge-based approach or the requirement-based approach. Other times, it's about more using, I suppose, the open collaboration space, where technology providers and solution providers would look at something where that there may be a new opportunity, and they would present it to the farmers where they can try it in something of a sandbox type scenario. But I guess really, given in my experience, that there's huge diversity across different farm sectors, across different age groups within the farming community as well. So I suppose really what I would say is it unfortunately, everything has to be almost a unique approach, and there are some general principles and some general guidelines that we took in the AgriDISCRETE project from the social sciences point of view, and from the business point of view as well, and I suppose our own technology point of view. There's always some background principles that you can use, but they are only really at the start, and you've got to kind of build what's essentially a personal relationship, not with individual farmers or with individual technology providers, but more at the group stage. And it's got to be an element of trust. And again, what makes it extra hard, and I don't want to talk it down, but it is hard, is that takes time, and time costs. And it's not something that can happen. Oh, obviously it won't happen overnight. But I think if you can start at all, like, then it gets easier as you go on, and then everybody becomes more familiar with the other people in the room and the other technologies, like the open collaboration space, that can help. And I think we can move on from there. And my last comment on it is that this isn't just about involving the farmers as well, because what we would have seen is that the policy people really need to be in the room as well, because we can come up with solutions, and the farmers can help us suggest solutions, and we can all work together. But unless there's the policy is maybe not exactly in place, but as long as we're not doing something outside of what's allowed, and I suppose GDPR is in the room all the time when you talk about data, farm data or any type of data. So I think the policy people need to be in the room as well. And in particular, if you're trying to encourage the use of a particular technology, there's got to be some sort of policy in place that will encourage that, not just for the sake of advancing the technology or apparently saving the farmer money over the space of the next 5 years. Like, you can't really think like that when you're farming, or very few can. So I think that there needs to be a policy maybe and some sort of an incentive in the room as well. So I think that there's a few different people, as well as the farmers, the policy people, I think, need to be there as well. And it just try and build it over time, which again is the hard part.
Okay, thanks, Kieran. So obviously there are a lot of things that we still have to do when it comes to interaction with farmers, and it is not an easy task to be done. Moving from farmers a bit towards technology side, we mentioned this agriculture information model, AIM. I don't know how to pronounce exactly that. And from my perspective, and I'm representing a company that has some solutions in this agriculture space, appearance of or use of AIM was a great help for us, because suddenly we were able to have someone else was thinking for us or with us how to structure all this data to be able to describe all the fields, all the crops, all the machines, everything that comes there in a rather standardized manner, and to be able to work with others. So, Ioanna, can you give us a quick kind of overview of what AIM does, and how do you see the role of it in the agriculture space from the interoperability perspective, and where does it stand in terms of standardization?
Okay, yes, thank you very much for the question. As I aforementioned, there are several challenges in the agri-food sector, and major ones have to do on the one hand with regards to the availability of data in different formats and representations based on different models. That means that there are too many and completely heterogeneous approaches on how to handle it, how to handle core data and their semantics. So the domain is not hampered that much by the lack of standardization, but more by the population, the large population of available standards that are in the area, but nothing is dominating enough so that people can start adopting, and then it takes over, and then everybody's using a specific technology. Moreover, we suffer from lack of sufficient interoperability mechanisms that can enable the interaction and interoperation of the existing solutions. This has been identified several years ago. It's not a new thing. However, I think that in the DEMETER project, we managed to go one step further in this area via the so-called AIM, the Agricultural Information Model. What is valuable, the most valuable thing about this is that this model is that before designing it, before specifying it, we made a thorough analysis of the available solutions that are around and highlighted the most popular ones. Actual standards or de facto standards coming from ETSI, the FIWARE originating NGSILD, the SARA for Agri, also recently standardized by ETSI, some vocabularies or ontologies coming from FAO, like the AgroVoc, others coming from initiatives such as Inspire or Foodie, others coming from ISO standards. So we examined everything, and we tried to reflect this in a common data model, the AIM. So whoever is using this model of ours that is available for free, openly, in two places, on the Agro portal on the one hand and on the OGC server on the other hand, whoever is using it can be interoperable with the solutions I aforementioned and several others. Another asset of this model is the fact that it's scalable. It's built on a layered approach, and if you wish a part of your model or your ontology, the one that you are using, it can be custom, it can be available in the market, doesn't matter, but it's not fully compliant with AIM. With minimal effort, you can extend the AIM and make it compatible with your solution. So this is the major contribution, I feel, of the AIM. And with regards to standardization, we have been approached by a couple of standardization organizations and asking for collaboration and to promote this towards via standardization channels. And we are currently in the process, actually, of standardizing this. And before I finish with the AIM, I would like to highlight a fact that is more related to the remarks made by the previous speakers. And this concerns the farmers' view, the multi-actor approach, and the engagement of farmers in the overall process of using digital technologies in the agriculture sector. I was, a few years ago, I was invited in India to give a speech on the usage of ICT on smart farming and so on. And I made a nice speech on the technologies that can be used, on the added value of farmers, and people were enthusiastic about it. And I was very happy that this was so accepted and very well interpreted by the audience. And after the speech, a fellow professor that was also a panelist in this occasion in India approached me and told me that, okay, you hear some people here, but these are not the actual farmers that will be using the technologies. And there are several issues that need to be resolved in India before any of this becomes a reality. And this has to do with the prices that farmers can sell their products, and the access they have to resources such as fertilizers and even water and so on. These are the main problems in India right now, and the usage of such technologies is a secondary matter of lower priority. So my point is that it depends on who we are addressing here. I know in Europe things are far better, and we have much more progress with the usage of such technologies, but this is not the case all over the world. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ioanna. Yeah, so apparently, yeah, it is obvious that this standardization, I would say, and this sharing of this unique or the same data model, using the same data model across all different solutions will help the interoperability and the ability to share data. And this data sharing was mentioned in the a few of you mentioned that in these new projects. And so how do you see now, if we imagine situations where everyone is using AIM, so all smart agriculture solutions across the world are using AIM, so we have one standardized way of describing data, how we can or how the farmers can monetize that data? Can they really get some value out of it? One value is that they have systems, they get the service recommendations, advices, etc. But can they really sell the data as well? And what would be the obstacles of doing that? How we shall value the data? Whose data will be more valuable? The one coming from Ireland, or the one coming from Belgium or Luxembourg, or is it a micro region, or is it based on a crop? So any thoughts around that? Maybe we start with Rita, if you want.
So I think that first of all, there is the big issue that was mentioned before about trust and convince the farmer to share the data, because they are really afraid that this data can be used against them. So let's say that in one of our projects, we are studying the efficacy of the herbicide. So the data that we collect could like expose them to some risk, like they are misusing the herbicide because they apply more than what the regulation allows. So there is again the first need of building the trust and let them feel that, well, this data is not used against you, and also the data will not be shared without your authorization, so under your consensus. And this is also something that we explored in another project, Lux 5G Cloud, where we built, I mean, in collaboration with another partner in tech, we built a cloud platform based on smart contract and blockchain. And then we show to them that, well, this is the data that comes from your field. It goes inside the cloud platform, but it will not be exposed to any third party before you give the consensus. So whenever some user connected to the platform ask for this data from your field, for this picture, you will have to first give your approval. So this is one point. And then how we help them in making money out of this data. Of course, this is a big question. Maybe it can be like Sinisa explained before, service-based, like who use more data will be paying more, and then which data is more valuable. This is difficult to define because both at micro and macro level, this data is relevant. So if I consider what we are doing in different field, in different area of the country, you still find some correlation among the different data sets, and it is important to compare data collected in a specific soil condition with the data from different area. So I agree with the comment made before that it is not the single farmer that should be the target, but the rural community and the farmer association, so as a group, because they can understand, they can share the data among them, data collected from the different field, and this allow to provide them better service. And then there should be business model to help them in, of course, getting some incentive from the ministry in order to, let's say, be motivated to use the technology and share the data. And this is something that I'm encountering now, that the farmer don't easily engage in discussion about technology. Also, this educational workshop that we try to do with them, they would feel more motivated if this is something officially recognized by the ministry. So there is, in fact, the need of getting support from all the stakeholders to build the trust and to find a way for them to get incentive and make money with the data that they provide.
Thanks, Rita. Laurent, you mentioned that you are now running a project, coordinating a project that is dealing with the data and farmers. What's your view on this?
Well, it still has to start. It has been approved, but it hasn't started yet. So in terms of findings from that project, I don't have that much to add. But I think in general, I think some comments Maria make are relevant in the sense that I think one individual farmer cannot and will not sell his data as one entity. I mean, I think the value of these data is also too small to really bother. It's really the packaging. And then the big question is, at which level will you do this packaging? Is it done, for example, by the farmers' organizations? Is it done by the service providers again, like, for example, the machinery, the ones who are building the machines and collect all the machinery data? They can also offer it. So there's different models, and I think for the farmer, to be honest, I think it's really difficult to get money for it because you are with this packaging system. So how do you go then from the package back to the individual farmers? And so the added value has to be mainly for the one who's providing this packaged deal. So either the farmers organizations sell the data and then they can do something in return for the farmers, or the machinery, machine builders, for example, can sell the data and they can provide certain services for free because of it. So I think really getting money to the farmer based on their data will be really difficult. I think there it will mainly be services, and those services will be dependent on how the data is packaged and sold by whom.
Okay, thanks, Laurent. So just following up on that, Sinisa, if we agree with Laurent that farmers will not get paid in kind of cash for the data, where do you fit then in that value chain as a mobile operator? Can you be the one who is packaging the data, as Laurent mentioned?
Probably. I mean, we're using business and intelligence tools for years, and we are collecting huge amount of data about our customers. So we are not selling the data. We are just modeling different tools on a different ways. So and now we are thinking about that data collection and how to use it and sell it. I mean, generally, farmers will not look for money about the data, and they aren't. That is not. I don't want to say cheap money, but they are providing fruits and other things, and they are collecting money on that is the essential product. But by providing some basic services, which will give them some value of that services by collecting data and not just extracting the data and visualize those data, but some basic tools, giving from free and collecting a huge amount of money, and providing some premium services by collecting more data about their products. So we can gather a huge amount of data and provide them a service which they can pay. But we can calculate the price of the services, combining the amount of the money which can come from the farmers, and some amount and monetize the data. So with those two figures, we can make some we can monetize data and monetize the services to the farmers. I think that might be the good potential in the future. And since we have tools, we have to discuss primarily with some institutes and universities, how we, with those experts in these fields, with data knowledge, and with our tools, which can explore and structure the data, not like a data warehouse, but maybe by big data as a service. We can monetize such things.
Thanks, Sinisa. Now that you mentioned this big data as a service, I would like to maybe connect it to this concept of data spaces, because this is something that has become very popular these days, and a lot of discussions around that. The first EU or Horizon Europe projects around that area in the agriculture space just started recently. Ioanna, what is your view on this data spaces and in agriculture? What do we have to do there? What are the challenges? Where does IM sits in that relation? Maybe we don't have Ioanna.
Yeah, now can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, of course, in the common EU agri data space and the various initiatives that have started to appear across Europe recently, the last months or a couple of years, interoperability remains of major importance. It's one challenge that definitely needs to be resolved one way or another. But there are several matters that also need to be addressed, and this has nothing to do with the AIM, but the challenges that some speakers already mentioned here with. A major topic here has to do with the protection of privacy, of confidentiality of information, and the protection of ownership of data. And here is, as Kieran mentioned, where the policy-related aspect, an aspect that has very little been researched so far, but it definitely needs to come into play if we actually need to establish such an agri-data space, and even allow this data space to support the exploitation from the individual farmers themselves, and the respective policies that need to be established. We now have very slim presence of such policies in Europe. They need to carefully govern the usage of data, and, as I said, protect their ownership. And I would also like to mention that in this landscape, the European Commission has made has largely focused in the recent calls, and they have launched several topics that specifically focus on the development of such policies that will govern the usage and the sharing of agri-data information. So I think it's a primary aspect, in addition to interoperability, that will dominate the research challenges in the establishment of a common data space, agri-data space in Europe.
Thanks, Ioanna. Kieran, do you have anything to add in that regard?
Not really. I guess I suppose the biggest issue that we would have seen when it comes to data for the data space is getting access to the data itself. Say if you're dealing with private companies and you're saying, well, can you share this data with us for this data space, and we want to do this and we can do that and we can do 10 other things, they're saying, well, maybe, but that's essentially our IP that we're sharing there. We've invested huge money in gathering it and in storing it and in analyzing it, and now you want us to hand it over for free. That's a hard enough sell. And I think equally then on the policy side, even where it's publicly available information, it's you still need to get access to it easily, where you can have a couple of APIs or some sort of connectors that can just pull the data in, more so than you going looking for it and then having to do something manually, and it becomes a bigger piece of work than it's actually worth. And again, I think up until now, the data spaces have generally been publicly funded, or that's what it's looking like from here anyway. And you're on a public research project, so the clock is always ticking and time is always ticking, and the next review is coming, and you need to have something to show. So time is not on your side either. So that there's a couple of things around it. I think, and again, I suppose this is something we will see in Divine. I think if we can get some like little data spaces going there within the pilots, where data is being shared and we see real outputs and real public demonstrations, and we can show those to people, and they're real public facing type of things, then I think we can move forward from there, because it is hard to ask people to share data and you don't have a precedent to show where somebody else shared data and they got this benefit from it. If we can do that, then I think we may start the snowball slowly rolling then.
Okay, thanks. So we have only a few more minutes. So what I would, my last question for you, and you were great so far, so just one more question and we are done. In 10 years' time, will the farmers be able to harvest data as well as crops? Kieran?
I think that's up to us in this room, and the sensors that we can place on farms and the IoT that they can connect into. I think if we're still dependent on pen and paper in 10 years to gather data, then I think we'll be having the same conversation then. So I think that's where we can step in as technologists and really help to harvest that data. And again, I suppose the more we can take away out of the farmer's hands. I mean, the more work we can take away, if we can do it via satellite imagery or somehow remotely, and not be dependent on or not ask the farmer to gather the data themselves, then we're heading in the right direction.
Thanks, Ioanna.
Well, I think that unfortunately, my belief is that the technology, the infrastructure that needs to be deployed needs to get really, really cheap for the farmers to be able to deploy and then harvest the value of the data. I see a more viable model in 10 years, the one that has recently been observed across the world, where some companies invest heavily on deploying infrastructure for agri-data collection across the farms. Of course, they get authorization from the farm owners themselves, and then they get control over the data, offering free services to the farmers that allow them to deploy the infrastructure, but they actually exploit the data collected by their machine. I see this business model more likely to dominate the agri-data economy in 10 years. Hopefully, the infrastructure will get cheaper and the farmers themselves will be able to do this.
Okay, thanks, Ioanna. Maria Rita?
I mean, we should aim to achieve this in 10 years' time because, I mean, this is our role, but I think it will not be something straightforward. And I totally agree that we need to make it easy because otherwise they will not use it. It must be cheap, otherwise they will not invest. And we need a new business model so they can really get some benefit.
Thanks, Marita. Laurent?
Yeah, I think the most important things have already been said. I think I agree. I think mainly with Kieran. Kieran said his message. I think if he can set the framework, I think it will be there. But setting that framework will largely be up to us and the policy.
Thank you. And Sinisa?
Yeah, for sure there will be some early adopters for all the services. There is some the first one, but the point is what we will provide for those early adopters, how we will attract them. So that is also the issue. And I'm looking forward to see how it will happen in 10 years.
Okay, so we did record this session, so it will be there in 10 years' time, and we will play it to see where we are and to see how good the futurists were you. So thanks a lot for this lively discussion. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully all the audience enjoyed it as well. Thanks once again, and see you on the farm somewhere. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Digital around the world.